The research vessel Starseeker hung motionless in space, its sensors focused on the blue-green planet below. Chief Researcher Green stared at the readings with all four of his eyes, convinced the equipment must be malfunctioning. "This can't be correct," he muttered, his scaled skin shifting from pale blue to a worried gray. "Run the atmospheric analysis again." His assistant tapped the controls with delicate fingers. "Sir, we've run it 5 times. The readings are consistent. This planet has levels of oxygen that would be toxic to most species, atmospheric pressure that would crush standard bones, and gravity that would snap most beings in half." Green was about to order another scan when something caught his attention. "Wait, are those artificial structures?" The entire bridge crew fell silent as they zoomed in on the surface. There, spread across continents, were unmistakable signs of civilization. Cities, roads, and what appeared to be primitive space vessels. "Impossible," Green whispered. "Nothing could evolve in these conditions. This must be some kind of automated mining operation." Then their communication system crackled to life. "Unknown vessel. This is International Space Station Earth. Please identify yourself." The message was clear, calm, and coming from a station they could now see orbiting the Death World. Green's color shifted to pure white, the sign of absolute shock in his species. We are the Galactic Council research vessel Starseeker," he responded after gathering his courage. "We're conducting a standard survey of this sector. Are you actually living beings?" There was a pause, followed by what the ship's computer identified as something called laughter. "Last time I checked, yes," the voice replied. "I'm Dr. Smith, Xenobiology lead at the ISS. Would you like to dock with our station? We've been hoping to make first contact for quite a while." 2 hours later, Green found himself face to face with his first human. Dr. Smith was tall by Council standards, with a sturdy frame that spoke of evolving in high gravity. His skin wasn't scaled or plated, but somehow still managed to protect him from radiation. Most disturbing of all, he was warm-blooded, maintaining a temperature that would cook most species from the inside out. "So you're telling me," Dr. Smith said, reviewing the Galactic Council's planetary classification system, "that Earth would be considered a Class 12 Death World, the highest category possible." "The system only went up to Class 10 until today," Green admitted, watching in horror as Smith casually sipped a beverage that was literally hot enough to burn. "We've had to create new categories just to classify your world." "Fascinating." Smith's eyes lit up with excitement rather than fear. "Would you like to see our research labs? We've been studying Earth's extremophile organisms. There are bacteria that live in volcanic vents, creatures that survive in the deepest oceans under crushing pressure, even organisms that can survive in space." Green's translator almost glitched trying to process the enthusiasm in Smith's voice. Here was a being, casually discussing horrors that would give Council younglings nightmares, and he was treating it like an exciting scientific discussion. As they toured the station, Green noticed something even more disturbing. The humans moved with a fluid grace despite the artificial gravity being set to standard Council levels, much lower than Earth's crush force gravity. They seemed completely unbothered by the environment, adapting as easily as if they were made for it. "Dr. Smith," Green finally asked, "doesn't any of this frighten you? The void of space, the radiation, the constant dangers." Smith looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would it? This is actually quite comfortable compared to some research stations I've worked in. You should see our deep sea labs." Green made a mental note to avoid anything called a deep sea lab at all costs. As he watched Smith expertly maneuver through the station, chatting about future cooperation between their species, Green couldn't help but wonder what the Council would make of these humans. They weren't just surviving on a death world. They were thriving on it, and somehow that made them the most terrifying species Green had ever encountered. Ambassador Gray of the Galactic Council stood before the emergency session, his tentacles trembling as he read the report about Earth. The Great Chamber, filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds, had never been so quiet. Distinguished members of the council, he began, what I am about to share will change our understanding of life itself. A holographic display behind him showed a human medical scan. Even this simple image caused several council members to change colors in distress. Humans are not colonists who terraformed a death world, as we hoped. Gray continued. They evolved there. Their bodies are built for conditions we consider unsurvivable. He touched a control, bringing up video footage from the research team. The first clip showed a human construction worker lifting a metal beam that would require mechanical assistance for most species. The second showed a human runner continuing for hours without rest. The third showed a human eating something that made several council members gasp. That substance, Gray explained, is called hot sauce. It contains capsaicin, a chemical weapon the humans consume for pleasure. Professor White, the council's chief biologist, stepped forward to add her findings. Their bodies are extraordinary. They heal from injuries that would kill most species. A human can survive the loss of entire limbs. They can recover from severe burns, broken bones, and even brain damage. The chamber erupted in worried whispers. Gray waited for silence before continuing. But that's not the most disturbing part, he said. Humans don't just survive these conditions. They seek them out for entertainment. The next video showed humans jumping from high places with thin fabric canopies, diving into deep water, and climbing frozen mountains. Each image caused more distress among the council members. They call these activities sports and hobbies, Gray explained. What we consider survival situations, they consider fun. Professor White took over again, her scales shifting to a nervous purple. Their adaptability is unprecedented. Humans can survive in temperatures from what they call freezing to levels that would cook most species. They can eat almost anything. They can go days without sleep. And most terrifying of all, they can learn to live almost anywhere. The chamber fell silent again as Gray displayed the final set of data. This is why we had to create the Class 12 Death World category. Earth isn't just dangerous. It created a species that treats danger as a normal part of life. One council member, his crystalline form shimmering with concern, raised an appendage. Are they hostile? That's the strangest part, Gray replied. They're generally peaceful. They show great care for other species. Dr. Smith from the Human Space Station has already offered to help us study diseases that plague our worlds. They want to use their resistance to help others. Another member spoke up. How is that strange? Isn't that good? Professor White answered, her voice trembling slightly. It's strange because it means they're not just powerful. They're powerful enough to choose peace. They don't fear us, but they want to help us. They face death daily on their world, yet they've developed art, music, and science. They're not just survivors. They're thriving. Gray looked around the chamber. The classification team has given Earth its official designation, Class 12 Death World, but with a special note, home to a species that has mastered their environment through adaptation rather than conquest. As the council members discussed this news in worried tones, Gray watched another video clip. It showed Dr. Smith carefully helping one of the research team members who had been injured in a minor accident. The human strength could have easily hurt the delicate alien, but his movements were gentle, precise, and caring. Perhaps, Gray concluded, what makes humans truly remarkable isn't just their ability to survive anything. It's their ability to remain kind despite evolving in a world that shows no kindness. The question now is, how do we proceed with a species that can break us with a touch, but chooses to heal instead? The council chamber buzzed with discussion as the greatest minds in the galaxy tried to understand their new allies, the humans who turned a death world into a cradle of life. The galactic hub was the pride of space civilization, a massive station where all species could meet in carefully controlled conditions. Today, it faced its greatest challenge, the first human delegation. Tom Baker walked through the hub's main corridor, wondering why everyone kept moving away from him. He was trying his best to be friendly, but every smile seemed to make the aliens more nervous. Even the robotic maintenance units rolled back when he approached. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked his alien guide, Bell, who kept a careful 10 steps ahead. "Not exactly," Bell replied, his crystalline form flickering with anxiety. "It's just, you're walking at full speed, breathing normally, and you haven't shown any signs of fatigue after 6 hours of touring." Tom looked confused. "Should I be tired?" "We're in the high-gravity section of the hub." Bell's crystals chimed with stress. "Most species can only spend 1 hour here before needing rest." Before Tom could respond, a commotion broke out near one of the hub's cafeterias. A group of aliens was staring in horror at another human delegate, Jack, who was calmly drinking his 5th cup of coffee. "He's consuming poison again," one alien whispered. "And he keeps asking for it stronger," another added. Tom walked over to join his colleague, causing the entire crowd to shift backward. "Hey, Jack, making friends?" "Trying to," Jack replied, taking another sip. "But they seem worried about the coffee." I try to explain it's just a mild stimulant. A brave alien scientist stepped forward, holding up a scanning device. "Mild? It would stop the heart of most species. And your internal temperature. You're literally walking around with a fever that would kill anyone else." Tom and Jack shared a look of understanding. They'd been briefed about alien biology, but experiencing their reactions firsthand was different. Tom decided to try explaining. "Look," he said gently, keeping his voice soft to avoid frightening anyone. "Humans evolved needing these traits. We're not trying to be scary." Just then, the hub's artificial gravity flickered. While other species grabbed support rails in panic, the humans simply adjusted their stance automatically. A young maintenance worker nearby lost balance, and Tom instinctively reached out to help. The entire corridor froze in terror. Tom held the alien worker with perfect care, his deadly Earth-evolved muscles precisely controlling their strength to support, but not crush, the delicate being. He helped them regain balance with movements so gentle that several observing aliens had to adjust their sensors to believe what they were seeing. "Thank you," the worker said, amazed. "You're so strong, but you didn't hurt me at all." "Of course not," Tom smiled. "Humans are pretty good at controlling our strength. We have to be, since we share our world with much smaller creatures." A security officer, who had been watching nervously, finally spoke up. "You mean you live alongside weaker species? Voluntarily?" "Sure," Jack joined in. "We keep all sorts of pets. Dogs, cats, birds, fish. We're very careful with them." This revelation spread through the hub like wildfire. The humans weren't just powerful, they were precisely controlled. They could kill with a touch but chose to protect instead. They carried within them the ability to survive conditions that would destroy most life forms, yet they used that power to help others. As the day continued, more signs of human uniqueness emerged. They could eat almost anything in the hub's cafeteria, their bodies processing foods that would be toxic to others. They stayed alert without rest periods, their endurance seeming endless to the other species. Most surprisingly, they kept trying to make friends despite the fearful reactions they received. By the end of the day, the hub's residents had started to see these warning signs in a new light. Yes, humans were terrifying by any normal standard. But they were also something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. They were guardians who had been forged in the fires of a death world, carrying within them both the power to destroy and the choice to protect. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of his small transport ship when the distress signal came in. The Stellar Wind, one of the largest space stations in the galaxy, was facing a complete life support failure. Over 10,000 beings were at risk. "This is Captain Walker of Earth vessel Hope Runner. We're responding to your distress call," he transmitted, already adjusting course. The response came through broken and panicked. "Human vessel. Please hurry. Systems failing. Temperature dropping. Oxygen levels critical. Walker's ship was the closest to the station. As they approached, he could see the massive structure's lights flickering. His crew of 4 humans prepared for rescue operations. "Listen up," Walker addressed his team. "The station's environmental systems are failing. For other species, this is fatal. For us, it's Tuesday. Let's show them what humans can do." They docked with the station amid emergency alerts. The moment the airlock opened, the difference hit them. The temperature was near freezing. The air was thin and artificial gravity was fluctuating wildly. "Perfect conditions for a morning jog," Walker said with a grim smile. "Harris, get to engineering. Lee, find survivors on the upper levels. Brown, handle the lower decks. I'll coordinate from central control." The alien station staff watched in disbelief as the humans split up and ran through conditions that were rapidly becoming lethal for normal species. Their emergency suits seemed laughably light compared to the full environmental suits other rescue teams would need. Walker reached central control, where the station's commander lay slumped at his post. The human quickly checked the alien's vital signs, then administered emergency oxygen from his kit. How are you still functioning?" The commander wheezed. "The air, it's too thin. Humans are used to all sorts of conditions," Walker explained while his fingers flew over the control panel. "Our mountain climbers deal with thinner air than this. Now let's get your systems back online." Throughout the station, similar scenes played out. Harris worked in the engineering section, where the temperature had dropped to levels that would freeze most species solid. She repaired crucial systems with bare hands, her Earth-evolved biology, treating the cold as merely uncomfortable. Lee found a group of aliens trapped in a section with rapidly rising heat due to malfunctioning thermal systems. While they were nearly unconscious from the heat, he carried them to safety one by one, his body easily handling temperatures that would cook other species. Brown dealt with sections where gravity shifted randomly between 0 and 3 times normal. Her human vestibular system and robust bone structure allowed her to keep moving and working, while other species would have been incapacitated or crushed. Hour after hour, the humans worked without rest. They needed no sleep cycles, no recovery periods, and minimal oxygen. The station's residents watched in awe as these Deathworlders pushed through conditions that their own emergency teams couldn't even enter. "Captain," Harris called over the comm, "main power restored. Life support systems coming back online. Environmental controls stabilizing." Lee reported from his section. "All survivors in lower deck secured," Brown added. Walker looked at the station's commander, who was now breathing easier as oxygen levels normalized. "Your station is secure, sir. We'll stay until everything's fully stable." The commander stared at Walker with all 4 of his eyes. "You and your crew, you worked for 20 straight hours in conditions that kill. You saved over 10,000 lives." Walker shrugged. "It's what humans do. We evolved in conditions that were trying to kill us. Makes us pretty good at stopping death." As news of the rescue spread across the galaxy, many species began to see humans in a new light. The same traits that made them terrifying. Their endurance, their strength, their ability to survive anywhere, also made them the greatest allies anyone could hope for. They weren't just Deathworlders. They were guardians who thrived in conditions that killed, who used their power not to conquer, but to save. The attack on the human colony of New Hope was supposed to be simple. The space pirates, led by Captain Black of the Dark Claw, had raided dozens of settlements before. Their plan was always the same: disable communications, threaten the population, take what they wanted, and leave. They didn't expect the humans to fight back. "What do you mean they're still resisting?" Captain Black shouted at his second-in-command. "We cut their power and weapons." "Sir," the officer's voice shook, "they're not using weapons. They're using everything else." The pirates watched their helmet camera feeds in horror. Humans were lifting metal beams to create barriers. They were running through toxic gas that should have knocked them out. Some were even throwing rocks with enough force to crack ship armor. "Impossible," Black whispered. No species can function in these conditions. But the humans weren't just functioning, they were organizing. Black watched as the colonists set traps using simple machines, their bodies working tirelessly despite the lack of sleep or proper air filtration. They showed no fear, their bodies pumping adrenaline that made them even stronger and faster. In the colony's main hall, Mayor Stone coordinated the defense. "They think cutting our power makes us helpless," she told the gathered colonists. "Let's show them how humans adapt." The colonists turned everyday tools into weapons. Kitchen knives became throwing weapons. Construction equipment became armor. Even their bare hands proved dangerous, their Earth-evolved muscles capable of bending metal. "Sir," another pirate officer called out, "they're not just defending. They're hunting us." The camera feeds showed humans moving in coordinated groups, using tactics that reminded Black of pack predators. They communicated with hand signals, surrounded isolated pirates, and struck with terrifying precision. Most horrifying was their ability to ignore wounds that would stop any other species. A human with an injured arm would keep fighting with the other. Those exposed to sedative gas simply powered through it, their bodies processing toxins at incredible rates. "They're not even using their advanced technology," one pirate observed in terror. "This is how they fight when they have nothing." The humans had another advantage. They could see in the dark better than most species, their predator eyes adapted for hunting. They used this to move through shadowy corridors, appearing suddenly to overwhelm their attackers. Dr. Hill, the colony's medical officer, worked through the crisis with inhuman focus. She treated injuries while exposed to conditions that should have knocked her unconscious, her steady hands never wavering as she saved lives. "Status report," Mayor Stone asked, after coordinating another successful defense. "We've captured 30 pirates," her security chief replied. "No serious casualties on our side, just some cuts and bruises." What the pirates saw as terrible injuries, the humans dismissed as minor inconveniences. Their bodies were already healing at rates that seemed impossible to other species. From his ship, Captain Black watched his raid fall apart. His forces were being systematically captured or driven back by colonists who should have been easy prey. Instead, they had revealed themselves as the galaxy's ultimate survivors. "Full retreat," he ordered, his voice shaking. "Get us out of here." As the pirate ships fled, they transmitted one message across all frequencies. Warning to all raiders: avoid human colonies. They don't need weapons to be deadly. They are weapons. In the aftermath, other species learned what happened at New Hope. The galaxy finally understood why humans were truly terrifying. It wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their bodies, their minds, and their unbreakable will to survive. Mayor Stone sent her own message to the Galactic Council. Today's events weren't special. This is just what humans do. We protect our own, we adapt to any situation, and we never, ever give up. The revelation was clear. Humans weren't just another species that lived on a death world. They were the death world's chosen champions, carrying within them every survival trait their harsh planet could forge. Dr. Miller stood in the massive laboratory of the Galactic Science Academy, surrounded by the brightest minds from 100 worlds. They had gathered for one purpose: to finally understand what made humans different. "Today," he announced to the gathered scientists, "we'll show you how humans solve problems." The first test seemed simple. The aliens had created a puzzle box that required careful manipulation of delicate controls. They expected the humans to break it with their powerful hands. Instead, Dr. Miller sat down and studied the box carefully. "Interesting design," he said, his fingers moving with surprising gentleness. Within minutes, he had solved a puzzle that was supposed to take hours. But you're from a high-gravity world," one scientist protested. "Your hands should be too strong for such delicate work." Miller smiled. "Humans learned to make art, to perform surgery, to handle newborn babies. We had to master control along with strength." The next test involved extreme conditions. The aliens created a chamber with changing gravity, temperature, and air pressure. They expected the human test subjects to simply endure it. Instead, the humans adapted. They changed their movements as gravity shifted. They adjusted their breathing in thin air. They even started predicting the changes, moving before they happened. Remarkable, the lead alien researcher noted. They don't just survive. They learn and improve. But the most surprising test was yet to come. The Academy presented a scenario. A space station was failing, but saving it would require exposing oneself to dangerous radiation. Without hesitation, all human volunteers stepped forward. Why? Asked the confused alien scientists. The radiation would damage your cells. Even with your healing ability, it would hurt. Because others would die if we didn't help. Miller explained simply. Humans evolved as social creatures. We protect our group. The alien researchers watched in amazement as the humans demonstrated more abilities. They could learn new skills incredibly quickly, work together automatically in crisis, use tools in ways they weren't designed for, keep trying long after other species would give up. It's not just their bodies that make them special, one researcher realized. It's their minds. Miller worked with the aliens to document human capabilities. He showed them how humans used pattern recognition to solve problems, how they could imagine solutions that didn't exist yet, and how they passed knowledge to others. On Earth, he explained, everything tried to kill us. We didn't just get stronger. We got smarter. We learned to use our environment, to make tools, to work together. The aliens began to understand. Humans weren't just physically tough. Their minds had been shaped by constant challenge. Every human carried within them thousands of survival strategies. Watch this, Miller said, giving a human child a new toy. The aliens observed in fascination as the child immediately began exploring it, testing its limits, finding new ways to use it. This is how we survived, Miller explained. Everything is a tool. Every failure is a lesson. Every problem has a solution if you keep trying. The Academy's final report shocked the galaxy. Humans weren't just strong or tough. They were endlessly adaptable, natural problem solvers, instinctive teachers and learners, willing to sacrifice for others, impossibly determined. Perhaps, the report concluded, what makes humans truly remarkable isn't their ability to survive. It's their ability to turn survival into an art form. As Dr. Miller read the report, he couldn't help but smile. The galaxy finally understood what every human knew. They weren't just survivors of a death world. They were its students, learning every lesson it had to teach. And now, they could share those lessons with the galaxy. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Council gathered for a historic session. Ambassador Gray stood before the assembly, but this time he wasn't afraid. Next to him stood Dr. Smith, the human who had first greeted the stars. Distinguished council members, Gray began, we've spent a year studying humans. We feared them at first. Now, I believe we understand them. The great display behind them showed images from the past year. Humans rescuing people from the Stellar Wind Station. The defenders of New Hope Colony. Dr. Miller teaching at the Science Academy. Human children playing with alien younglings. Yes, humans are scary, Gray continued. They evolved on a world that should have killed them. They can survive almost anything. Their bodies and minds are built for survival. Dr. Smith stepped forward. But that's not what makes us human, he said. What makes us human is how we use these abilities. The display changed to show new images. Human doctors working in alien hospitals. Human engineers fixing space stations. Human teachers showing alien children how to grow Earth plants. Human scientists sharing their survival knowledge. In 1 year, Gray explained, humans have improved our medical technology, strengthened our space stations, and taught us new ways to survive. They turned their death world experience into knowledge that benefits everyone. An alien child walked onto the stage. She belonged to a species known for being physically fragile. In her hands, she held a small earth flower. "The humans taught me how to grow this," she said. "They showed me that even small things can be strong. Like them, this flower evolved on Earth. Like them, it looks delicate but can survive almost anywhere." The council chamber was silent as they watched the child carefully tend to the flower with techniques humans had taught her. "We were wrong," Gray announced. "We thought Earth was a death world that created monsters. Instead, it created guardians. Humans don't just survive. They help others survive too." Dr. Smith smiled. "Every human carries Earth's lessons within them. Yes, we're strong. Yes, we can endure pain, survive toxic environments, and heal from terrible wounds. But we learned something else on Earth. The strongest survive alone. But together, we all thrive." The council voted unanimously on their final classification for Earth and its people. Earth, Class 12 world, cradle of humanity. Not classified as a death world, but as a teacher world. Its people carry its lessons to the stars, not to conquer, but to protect and preserve life in all its forms. After the session, Gray found Dr. Smith in the council's garden, helping alien children plant earth flowers. "Aren't you worried they'll hurt the flowers?" Gray asked. "Their worlds are so different from Earth." Smith laughed. "That's the final lesson Earth taught us. Life finds a way. These flowers, like humans, will adapt. And these children, like us, will learn to be gentle with things more fragile than themselves." As they watched the children carefully tending their plants, Gray finally understood the truth about humans. They weren't scary because they could survive anything. They were scary because they refused to let anything defeat them. Not gravity, not poison, not radiation, and not even fear itself. The galaxy had gained more than survivors from Earth. They had gained teachers who could show them how to face their own challenges. They had gained protectors who would fight to their last breath to save others. They had gained friends who were strong enough to be gentle. In the end, what made humans the scariest Deathworlders in the galaxy wasn't their power. It was their choice to use that power to help others survive and thrive among the stars. And that, the galaxy decided, wasn't scary at all. It was beautiful.